to the Spicy Booknook, where we discuss all of our favorite and not so favorite dark and dirty book series. We're your hosts, Aj.
And Tay. So without further ado, let's get into it. Today we will be reviewing Pen Pal by JT Gessinger. Please be aware that there will be spoilers and explicit content for mature audiences only. The trigger warnings for this episode include explicit language, graphic sex, power play dynamics, detailed descriptions of death and grief, miscarriage, domestic violence, mental illness.
All right. What would you rate this one, friend?
I think I gave it about a 4.
That's not bad. That's not a bad rating. I think, yeah, like it was about a 4. It wasn't like the best book I ever read, but I didn't think it was like awful or anything by any means. It was.
No,
It wasn't bad.
I liked it. I feel like the only reason why I gave it a 4 is one, because I'm not really a paranormal type of person, and I did not know that's what we were reading.
Me
And
neither.
so it was like, oh, okay. It was just a little weird for me because it wasn't my style of book. But what didn't I didn't like the pet names in the book,
So bad.
and and I didn't like his humor. And so there were a couple things that I was just like, I'm not the biggest fan of. But overall, like writing wise and even, the storyline and the twist, I was okay with.
Yes, so I will say I gave it a 4 also. I was mind fucked because I did not know this was a paranormal anything. So when we
At
were reading
all.
it, you get halfway through and they're like talking about, she thinks there's like a ghost in her house. I'm like, wait, hold up. What does this have to do with this story? So that kind of threw me off. Because remember, even halfway through, I was like asking you, like, where is this going with the ghost story? Like, what does this have to
Yeah.
do with anything? That kind of threw me for a loop. Yeah, the pet names, awful. Like Bunny. Ugh. Ugh. And what did she call him? Like my lion.
My lion. Ew,
Blech.
I hated that. And Master, ugh,
Oh my god, Master just fucking literally throw up. Those pet names were so fucking terrible.
they were
So terrible.
definitely
I will
trash.
say the Audible, whoever was reading his voice,
It wasn't bad.
it wasn't bad. It was actually really good. And I feel like they read it really good to like his personality.
They did.
Like it sound also the whoever read her voice as well. Like I felt like the dynamic between them, it was really good. Like it did kind of, I don't know, it was just the paranormal part really like was like what the hell? I was confused. And then when you're reading and then they like fall for each other so fast, that confused me because I was like,
It was
what's
such a mind fuck. Because
it
what?
was a huge, and then when you get to the end, obviously then you realize like what was happening. So I was like, okay, now this all makes sense and everything's tied together. That completely makes sense. But at first, I'm not gonna lie, I was just vibing, confused, just vibing.
I had so many theories in this series, like in this book, and none of them turned out the way that I thought at all. Not one.
Girl, when I'm saying just going on vibes, that was literally me. So pretty much a short synopsis of the story is we have our main character, Kayla, whose husband has died and she's still in this house. And there's all these things going wrong with this house that her and her husband shared, who we thought was the love of her life, apparently. And then all these things are going wrong. So she's calling people to come look at the house and the roof. And so she calls this guy over. His name is Aiden. He comes to look at it. He's very like short. His sense of humor is just not there. Kind of
Boo.
standoffish. And she just takes to that. Like at first she's like, okay, this guy's kind of an asshole. But then for some reason, she just, I don't know what it is, but she gets intrigued by him.
I'll tell you what it was. When they were at the bar, because they end up meeting up with each other at, I think it was a bar, but
Mhm.
he had got me enticed because she had explained that he like set like in between her at the bar, like sat next to her at the bar, and then put his legs like around her and like kind of trapped her in, but not really trapped her in. And I was like, he kind of sexy. Like he given his dominance. And then they went and like moved to another spot, and it's because she was like talking about like her husband or whatever, and or I think she was just sad, and she hadn't really told him what was going on with her husband. And so um he was like, you can cry. He was like, nobody can see you. And then like he sat on the same side of the table with her and just held her. And he was giving on to daddy vibes. He was doing what he needed to do to make her want him. And I like that.
I'll say Aiden was he was very daddy-ish. Definitely. Like his vibe, he had a good vibe, although his sense of humor was dry as fuck. But
I
it
still
seemed like
liked him.
it seemed like it worked for her. And I truly did like his character. Like I think his character was well written. And it was easy to like imagine the kind of person they were describing him to be. Like
Hmm.
it was easy to imagine him as that person. Even her, like I will say, I don't know why Kayla was only like 30, wasn't she?
Yeah, she
And
was young.
for some reason, I don't know why in my mind I pictured her older.
I pictured her to be like 38-ish, like almost
Yes. Okay.
40.
So I'm not the only one. Like I thought, like borderline 40s. Like was
She
the
was
vibe that it was giving was like. And so when like they talked about their ages and Aiden was actually older than her, that really shocked me because in my mind, like as I was reading it, it seemed like she was older than him.
maybe that's why he gave off them daddy vibes though, because he was,
Maybe.
older than her. But yeah, to to have their ages, like it was weird that he was much older. I felt like he was in his late 40s to me too. I mean, not 40s, late 30s to me too.
I just
So
thought they were both older. Like,
they definitely felt older.
yeah. And then when it was like, she's 30, I'm like, 30? That's like our age. And she doesn't seem like our age. She seems like an older woman, like to me.
She really does.
I was like, all right, whatever. You like it. I love it.
Yeah.
What didn't you like about this book?
The fact that it was supposed to be, I guess, like a romance, because I didn't get romance. It was spicy. Don't get me wrong. I would give it five, spicy peppers. I think it was very spicy, and like with the chasing, you know how I feel about chasing. I don't know what it is, but you know how I feel about it. And so I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed the spice parts, but I didn't. It was not romantic to me. I mean, I don't even want to explain the spoilers, but I feel like, can we give the spoilers away? Like, are people
I
going to
feel
be
like
okay with that?
we might have to because there's really nothing for us to give about this book without talking about the spoilers.
Okay, because I was completely mind fucked at the part that they died. Like, okay, that's
they
not romance to me.
they was dead this whole time. Y'all, we read this book thinking they were alive this whole time. Whole time they were dead. Whole
Whole time they
time
was dead.
the ghost that was in the house was Kayla. That was her haunting her own house. Crazy.
Shot it was and I'm like, oh my god, because the whole like hunting and stuff, and then the fact that they was just fucking with a family was like that was a whole nother thing, because she just in his house haunting it like a motherfucker, talking about there's a little boy running around, he lived there, girl, that's his house.
Like, yeah, I'll say it wasn't really giving romance. It was I don't know. I It wasn't bad, but it just wasn't giving the romantic spark. I mean, obviously now we know they were dead and they're dead and they were lovers before. That makes more sense when you get to
Yeah,
the end. But when you're reading it, you don't understand how fast this connection develops between them because you're like, "Whoa, hold up. Like you just met this man. So how are your feelings for him this strong?" Like it just doesn't make sense when you're reading it, but then when you get to the end and find out like they were lovers before they died, then it's like, oh, okay, this makes sense. This kind of ties. Like the end of the book really ties everything back together.
it really did. Like her husband having, schizophrenia, and having like a break, and like being domestically abusive like throughout the whole thing. Like I feel like that was something that was a complete shock to me. Like, I didn't even know what to think. I was like, damn, where did all this come from? Like,
Oh
I
yeah.
think I was sending you messages like, what the fuck? What the fuck
Yeah.
is going on? I don't get this. Like, but it was, I think it tied well together, like them at the end, like, um, the letters from jail actually started to make sense to me because they like haunted him at the jail. And so
Mhm.
I was like, oh, okay, that makes more sense. But like, I feel like the story at first it was seemingly all over the place, but it really tied in together. So I can't say I disliked too much. I actually really liked how it tied in together.
The ending is what made me be like, "Oh, okay, like I get it." You know, like at first I was a little bit I was lost in the sauce. Like I said, just vibes. I was just vibing. Like, let me just read
Right.
it and we going to see what happens. And then in the end I was like, "Okay, now I see where this is going." But mid I was really confused. But then I was like, "Okay, this makes sense." I feel like their sex scenes were really good though. But
They did have some good sex scenes.
minus the bunny and lion, I just that was like, girl, what the fuck? I'm not about to
Draw the
call
line.
you my lion. Yuck. Gross. No. That was a no for me. But I will say I like that he was very dominant and she clearly liked to be submissive. So that worked. So then that had me wondering, I was like, what was her sex with her husband like? Because clearly it couldn't have been good because he just didn't give off those vibes like they had good sex. He gave off vibes like they had really bad sex.
Yeah, he didn't give me the he was good in bed at all. And so
No.
the fact that she was like he didn't call me pet names. I'm like, baby, what the fuck? He didn't say baby, he didn't say honey, nothing. He was just a weirdo. He sounds very dry and plain.
Yeah, the husband just seemed like he had no nothing to him. So I was like, but Aiden was good. Their sex scenes was good. I will say there wasn't anything like really memorable about them though. Like I couldn't tell you like my
Facts.
favorite sex scene. Like I feel like they all kind of just blended in together.
Like I said, I don't mind the chasing and stuff, so I found that sexy, but I didn't find like I didn't have a favorite quote like that was from a sex scene or anything of like at all.
Yeah, the sex scenes just weren't. It just wasn't. There wasn't one where I was like, ooh, like this is a really really good scene or anything. Like they all just kind of blended together. You know, like meh, they're okay.
I
Meh.
didn't like how she ran to his house. I get it now after the ending or whatever time. But when she was scared and she was hearing like the floorboards creak in her house, why would she leave the house and run to this man's house
No, for real. Because who are you, sir? You don't even know this man. Like, she really was like, all right,
in the
let me.
rain, no panties on?
Yeah, like, huh? What is happening? Like, that part threw me because I'm like, you don't know this man. You do not know this man. So that was
It's
a
dark
little.
romance, I guess. So we like danger.
We
Or
like
she
the
found it.
danger, and I already knew when she was. I was like, she about to run to this stranger's house. And I don't know. I would say it was a pretty good book. Yeah, there wasn't really any spicy scenes that I was like, ooh, yeah, that was a good one. Like they were all just, they were cool.
It's like I hope that everybody who's listening doesn't didn't not read the book before they will listen to the episode because I'm like I really would like people to like just have like going in blind was the smartest thing for me because had I known anything, I don't think I would have liked it. Like I feel like we had Layla on last week and she said that she did not finish it. I think she said she DNF'd it. And I kind of want to go and tell her, like, Layla, if you're listening, please go and read this.
Right.
Um,
I'm gonna have
I
to
know we
finish it
spoiled
first.
it, but like I'm gonna have to like text you or something because girl,
I need you to finish it so you know what's going on.
yeah, because I feel like I could see why she would DNF it because it was definitely, especially if you're going in thinking you're reading a romance story or a dark romance story, it really wasn't giving that. So I can see why you'll be like, oh, I don't think I want to finish it. But once you finish it, it gave what it needed to give.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it was, I would say this was a pretty good read. Like, I would recommend it, especially, I mean, if you're someone who's into like paranormal
Oh
romance,
yeah.
then this would definitely like be something. I just wasn't really, it's not really my thing, but it still was a good book. I don't regret reading it. There wasn't really a point where I was like, I don't think I want to finish this. Like, it was fine.
No, it was I read it in a day and I was like excited to finish it throughout the day. It wasn't something that I was bored reading or anything like that. I would definitely recommend. It just wasn't for me, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
yeah.
Alrighty, friend.
All right, friend.
Okay, well, thank you for listening, guys. Join us next week where we'll be reviewing Does It Hurt by H.D. Carlton.
All right. Bye guys.